Hello and welcome to the Aurora Education Commission podcast number 2. My name is Dr. Jeff Craig and I'm currently the Director of Education and Workforce Development. And today's guest, we're glad to have her here, Dr. Jennifer Norell, Superintendent for the East Aurora School District 131. She's very involved throughout the educational community in addition to being the Superintendent and current Aurora Education Commission member. Welcome, Dr. Norell.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate you taking the time. You know, everyone has a kind of a preconceived notion of what a superintendent does and who they are. But if you could share with our listeners how long you've been in your current role, and then some of the previous roles that helped set the table for you to be able to have those skill sets built into your current superintendency.
Absolutely. So I've been the proud superintendent of East Aurora School District 131 for the past 7 years. And it feels like it's been longer than that only because I've had an opportunity to really get to know everyone, and not just those that are part of our everyday community, but the broader community in the city of Aurora, and it's been a wonderful 7 years. Before that, it's funny, you know, when people say, well, what did you do? Well, yes, I was assistant superintendent for 10 years prior to sitting in the superintendent seat. Worked for 3 different superintendents in 3 different districts. And that was great because certainly all of that prepared me and it was a learning experience. But I will say, when I talk about my trajectory to this seat, really, I had jobs that date back almost 30 years ago when I first got into education. So I came into education as a change of career.
Sure.
I was just a science major. But then when I decided that I was going to substitute teach part of going back to grad school, I fell in love with the profession. So during that time that I had to go back and get my certification to actually be a licensed teacher, I had the opportunity to continue being a substitute teacher, had an opportunity to be summer school clerical. I had an opportunity to work buildings and grounds special projects where we tidy up the campuses. And I had an opportunity to spend an entire year as an instructional assistant. And so for me, I had building leader roles, department chair roles, assistant principal roles, curriculum director roles, but it really was those early positions that really made me, I feel, best prepared to lead a system, because you have so many different key people in all positions across a school district. And so for me, I feel like those experiences were equally as important because they really allow me to put myself in other people's shoes. And I think that's so very critical when you want to focus on a district as a whole community. And so for me, I always tell that as part of my story. So.
That's really interesting, and I think people really want to know that you've touched a lot of those rungs along the way.
Yes.
And had those experiences, because sometimes people have this notion that you woke up one day and they anointed you superintendent, and that just isn't how we do things.
No.
You have to have those experiences to be able to bring those skill sets to bear.
Yes.
I'm going to deviate a little bit because we do. We take on a lot of different roles and make lots of decisions, and we have multiple experiences, especially over 7 years in this role. You want to talk a little bit about some of the 2 or 3 things that you're most proud of in your current role?
Oh, wow. The list is long. Especially, and you could totally appreciate this, we did this journey together being a superintendent through the pandemic.
Yes.
And just being able to help right-size the ship after that with all the fallout from that. And then as we slowly get further and further away from that time period, just being able to see that our children are able to go back to some sense of normalcy and their education is able to, climb back up. And so one of the things right before the shutdown, we were celebrating gains and attainment, right? Because we celebrate growth and just gains and attainment. We were there and we couldn't wait till the next step for testing so we could continue to show that growth. And then having kids have to go home for a year and a half was devastating. And so I think one of the things I'm most proud of is how our staff and our community, our Board of Education has handled, the comeback from what the pandemic did to all of our families and our kids. And so for me, I have to say that's first, because that was something that the world felt, and that fact that we were able to be resilient and come back from that, I'm so proud about. And out of that, with the funding that was afforded schools, we were able to use that funding to put some things in place that are going to be able to long outlast my tenure in the district and probably the next 20 superintendents. We built some facilities with that funding and dedicated it to that sense of resilience. So we built the Resilience Education Center as a site for children to be able to go there for therapy, for counseling, but also to be able to go there to engage in high-level career-related electives. And so that center has really been a real proud point for us as a school district. Also, launching dual language. That was a labor of love, and as of next fall, our district will be the only school district, public school district in the state of Illinois that will have dual language from kindergarten through 5th grade, every school.
That's incredible.
And so that's been really huge. And I'll tell you, it's not just about the academic benefit and what it does to children's brains when they reach middle school and high school over their peers that may not have had that multilingual opportunity, but really what it has meant for us in a cultural shift sort of way. So in terms of shifting the culture around language to be value added instead of something that we have to eradicate to get you away from your language and move just solely to English, but that we can value multiple languages and that everyone can learn and grow in that and then be ready to contend with the world. So
That's awesome.
We're excited. So I would say those two are probably are definitely highlights. Yeah.
You know, and I would just, to wrap a bow on that, what you've just, and it's obvious you're very proud and it exudes from you about it. But people, even though we are educational institutions, folks like us that have been in those chairs, we remember that we're still in the people business.
Yes.
And so regardless of whatever the program is, whatever the building is, whatever the academic is, we are in the people business.
We are in the people business, yes.
Absolutely. We've talked about some of the global challenges, but from an educational lens, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that we're facing in education today?
Wow.
That's
Every
a heady
day the
question.
list grows,
Yeah.
right? Challenges in terms of just trying to focus solely on the field of education. You know, I think one of the things is that I think is a global challenge, but certainly is one I can speak to nationwide, and that is how to really harness technology and, utilize it for good. And so that is something that I hear time and time again from educators, like I said, across the country. And even, our teachers have had the conversations for the last 2 years. We had a special committee. We did a video to try to talk about AI and how to just harness that and how do we use it, because we can't stop it. It's here.
Yeah, we cannot ring that bell, right?
No, we cannot unring that bell. And so how then do we best move forward? And so they're having statewide conferences for superintendents to really talk about how to lead in these times where there's so much technology, even more, and it continues to grow. And so I think that is definitely a challenge that universally connects to parents, to students, to teachers, certainly to school leaders. So that's a big one for us.
Everyone has a role and a responsibility in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's not going back in the box, that's for sure.
It is not. But I have full faith that we can harness that and be even better on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think your approach is spot on, that it's here, it's not going away.
Right.
So how do we make the best of it?
That's right.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's awesome. I mentioned from the outset, you're part of an education commission that the mayor started back in 2018, comprised of superintendents, public and private, presidents of universities and colleges, community members, community leaders, so a variety of people that comprise one of the largest commissions in the city. And there's, we've experienced the pandemic as well, and so we've had some fits and starts. But from your purpose, I know you sit on one of the subcommittees, and you've been on the board since its inception, since 2018, one of the longest sitting members. What do you see of the top initiatives of the Education Commission today?
Let me just first say that the commission was an ingenious idea because it really brought us together. And I know initially it was a tough start, and we had a great leader. So thank you so much. We had a superintendent from West Aurora that I think led that. And it was really a great launch because there's a lot of power in that room, and we have to make sure that we feed off of each other's, capacity and power to be able to raise what we do for students and for families and for the community, that we're not competing and that we're doing it together, and that we are able to capitalize on each other's efforts so that could further our own individual institutions. So I think that entire inception of the commission was great from the start. And it's
certainly a great way to network.
Absolutely a great, and it was really a more efficient way to network.
No doubt.
Because when people have great things to share with the community, they can come to one location, and then we can all give feedback and we can hear what each other says. So it's really turned out to be even better than initially probably even thought. And so one of the things that's the first thing that I would say about the commission. And so we have been able to really listen to each other for a few years, as well as listening to what are some of the trends and challenges, and we've been able to prioritize those. And I think the commission has done a great job in prioritizing two of those things that I will speak about. And one of those is the early literacy, and really being able to affect change and put some things in place that are going to impact children even before they enter through any of our school doors, certainly in the public school districts, but certainly in preparing them so that all children have the opportunity to go to one of our higher ed partners as well. And so
not be behind in doing so.
And not being behind in doing so. And so in order to do that, we have really taken the time to connect with the experts in the field and read the research and look at what's been done previously in all sorts of places and put together a plan for early literacy. And that plan, I just want to say, is so robust because of all the difference in the partners that we have, that we've been able to have a most robust plan, more robust than you could simply have at one school district or one early learning center. It's just all of us working together. And so that is something that we're going to continue to launch citywide. And I think that is probably our largest initiative and effort. And I have definitely been involved with the other members of the commission in making sure that we have something quality to launch. And we've even seen when the mayor spoke about it with the books for barbers, and we're collecting those, and several superintendents have those books, and our collegiate partners have said they'll collect books. And so it's really an opportunity for people to galvanize around something that's going to be really good for families and kids, and make a difference, have an impact by the time a child starts kindergarten. And so that's really what we want to see. And I'm excited about that initiative.
And I couldn't have said it better. And you touched on kind of where I wanted to take it next. What do you anticipate the impact on global or all of our students? Think about all that collection in that room. How do you anticipate the impact of some of the initiatives, or at least our hope for impact?
I feel that the immediate impact will be kindergarten readiness. And I think that that's something that the state has measured in the past. And I think it's something that has been a universal challenge. And again, like you said, even our partners at the table that are university presidents, they see it, right? When we talk about making sure that kids are on time and graduate on time, and that they're ready to matriculate to college and do collegiate level work. And so it starts, we really got into the research. This starts in the home. It starts, but most people who are not educators may not know some of the things that can be so simple but yet so impactful for their early learner. And so I think what this does is it allows a resident anywhere in the city of Aurora to be able to have access to this information and be able to have access to some of these strategies and the resources that are going behind these strategies. And so I think it definitely makes us one Aurora with regard to access, research, information, and resources. And I think that's invaluable to a community.
I tell you, and those are spot on. And I hope that parents get a chance to pick this up and listen to it. Because I think you're very intuitive about that. I know that from your background, and very thoughtful about that. So really appreciate you sharing that. Okay, I'm going to move in a little different direction.
Okay.
It's no secret. We're formerly, I'm recently retired, but we were public servants.
Yes.
And so our life is on display for most of our careers.
Yes.
And you're making the decision to move to a new community.
Yes.
Similar role, but And then this is a differential that I've experienced myself. You're moving from a unit district, a pre-K through 12,
Yes.
to a high school district,
Yes.
which is very, very different because you have 9th through 12th graders,
Right.
not 3-year-olds to 22-year-olds.
Right.
Very, very different approach. And I know you don't have all the answers yet, but I think you've started to discern what's coming down the pipe for you. What do you anticipate are some of your bigger challenges when you make that transition from East Aurora, K-12 district, to a high school district down at home in Flossmoor?
Right. So yes, I have been trying to not talk about it so much because it is bittersweet.
sorry.
It is bittersweet that I am
had to ask the
that I'm
question.
leaving again. It really has been a wonderful 7 years, and that says a lot because we went through a pandemic, as we mentioned earlier. But just it's really been an excellent group of people. Everyone in the entire community at large, and so it is bittersweet for me.
Yes.
I am transitioning from a LUDA district, a large unit district, to a high school only district, and it is different. I have had previous experience, and again, I liken this to how valuable those experiences were, and I don't take those for granted. Working at a LUDA district prior to working at East Aurora, I worked at Crete-Monee for 2 different times, and so that was a great district as well, also 3 to 22-year-olds.
Yes.
And then I spent a large part of my career in a high school district. So that is not something that is strange or different for me. I will say, having been at the helm in both, that the real change and the real difference is losing the benefit of having immediate access to all of the curricular supports and just communicating with parents from the time that they are 3 all the way to the time that they graduate high school. And so that is going to be a loss. You inherit it. And most of there's 99 high school only districts in the state of Illinois. And I will tell you, the common theme is that you have to be ready to have a solid and strong plan of articulation with your foundation districts.
Yes.
And so for me, going in, making those connections and having those relationships with the foundation districts is so key, so critical. And so
so just to interrupt you real quick, when you talk about having those discussions with those foundation districts,
yes.
Unlike where you are now, where you have you're
control
over everybody,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So you have a say-so from the time they enter our systems at 3 to the time they potentially age out at 22.
Right.
In a high school district, you have to build those bridges and those relationships.
Yes.
And hope that they're willing to meet you halfway.
Absolutely.
Here's what we want to do as 9th graders.
Right.
Here's where we'd like them to be.
Right.
Can we work together to get them ready?
Absolutely.
But there's no guarantees.
There's no guarantees.
Because you don't have
you don't control it.
They have their own soups.
Right.
They have their own boards.
Yes.
They have their own communities.
Yes.
And so it's a whole different entity coming to you.
It is.
And you have to make the best.
It is. But that just means that in high school districts are used to having to run faster and stronger because it's like 9th grade, okay, go. You've got literally 2.5 years till they sit for the SAT, the ACT. And if you want to start with kids in AP from the beginning, from the inception, where if they can do the work, if there's even an inkling of a possibility, we want to put kids in and give them the opportunity. You're doing that sometimes without having control what they've experienced beforehand. But the good news is that I have had the opportunity to meet superintendents and curriculum directors, so I'm really excited because I am familiar with the area. So that part, I have full faith that I will be able to continue those relationships.
Well, from a personal standpoint, having worked with you for 6 of those 7 years as a colleague, I appreciated what you brought to the table, valued you as a teammate when we had to make some of those tough, whether it's a weather decision, whether it was the pandemic, whether it was emergency situations. People don't realize how much we talk before hours, after hours, after the weekends.
Absolutely, we do.
To be able to make sure we had all the right information to make the best decisions for our kids. And so I thank you for that collegial relationship. Thank you for your service to our Aurora community. and wish you nothing but outstanding success down in the South Burbs.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being a great partner across the river, as we say.
Yes, we do.
Because we did go through a lot, because the truth of the matter is we were going to be compared no matter what our decision was, so it was always easiest if we made the same decision.
Let's get on a page, right?
That's right. So thank you for that partnership.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask you to put your mentoring hat on.
Okay.
Okay. You've talked about some of your varied experiences.
Yes.
And we have. Hopefully, we're encouraging more people, our young folks, to get into the profession. Mm-hmm. And as they gain some momentum, some begin aspiring to be administrators.
Yes.
And to take on leadership roles. So, any of those folks that might be listening, what advice would you give to those aspiring administrators or leaders?
Absolutely. First, I want to say, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to include leadership in your plan, because not only is there the teacher shortage impacting us immediately in the classrooms, but those are our future leaders, and they have to be. And so, when we think about that, when we plan with our higher ed partners, we have to understand that we've got to continue to do work around teacher vacancy, because those are the leaders of the future. And so I just want anyone listening that's thinking about the field of education to not shy away from it, and to know that you are so greatly needed. The other thing that I share when I mentor and I talk with future leaders, no matter where they are along the continuum. They could be someone just leaving the classroom for a department chair position or for an assistant principal position, or it could be someone that's an aspiring superintendent, that's an assistant superintendent, and they're wondering whether to throw their hat in the ring. I would just say, do that. But first, take an inventory to make sure that you're ready, make sure that you can really articulate the experiences that you've had, to be able to really call on those and draw on those. Again, I don't think it was until I got in this seat that I could look back over my career and I found real value in things that at the time I had no idea why I did those things or why I took certain leadership positions. So I would just say, absolutely, that I would suggest that young people or those that are in the pipeline already really do an inventory to find out, because oftentimes that you have more that you can draw on than you give yourself credit for. And I think it's really important to have those honest conversations, because when you get in the seat, and we both know it is definitely a challenging seat, you're going to have to draw on everything you have to make it.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice as well, that the more experiences, and I think someone I was listening to share about, don't be afraid to take on some roles that are outside of your job responsibility. You know, when you get an opportunity to say, hey, I need somebody to do this for 3 weeks, raise your hand.
Raise your hand, yes,
Jump
absolutely.
in there, because that way you can add it to your repertoire. Hey, I've experienced that, and I saw some of the maybe things I'd do better next time. Or how I saw somebody do it and I don't want to repeat that.
Right.
So I think that's a great advice. Don't hesitate, because we do need great people in our classrooms.
We need leaders, yes, because I'm joining your ranks one day soon, hopefully.
Yes. Well, this has been a phenomenal conversation, and again, I want to express my gratitude, our gratitude for your service to our schools, but also to our school community. You have played a vital role in serving the East Aurora community and the Aurora Community Collective, and that can't be understated. That's a big lift, and it's not for everybody.
Right.
But we appreciate what you've done, and hope to see you before you leave town in June.
Yes.
But really wish you the very best in your next role.
Yep, thank you. And thank you so much to the City of Aurora, and especially the leadership for the City of Aurora. It has been a partnership like no other. I mean, I've worked in a lot of different school districts, and I've never seen the city as supportive as it is for the schools in the City of Aurora.
It's a big statement.
So it's something that everyone needs to understand. It does not happen everywhere, so that's huge. So I thank both you as a partner, but certainly city leadership and our mayor, Mayor Richard Irving. He's been wonderful.
Yep, he's been a big supporter of our schools.
Yes, and he is definitely leading the way in that, because it is not like that everywhere. So
absolutely, 100% agree.
Yep. So I will miss you all.
So this is Dr. Jennifer Rell, Superintendent for the East Aurora School District. This is Jeff Craig.
Yeah.
Signing off, and we'll look forward to see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.